You're sitting with friends, real ones, right in front of you, and without even thinking about it, your hand moves to your pocket. You tell yourself you're just checking the time, but the clock is right there on the wall. You know that. And yet, your thumb is already unlocking the screen. The real reason you can't put that phone down is far stranger than you think. And it has nothing to do with the phone. It has to do with a brain that's been running the same software for 2 million years. And that software was never designed for a world that fits in your pocket. Here's what's actually happening. Deep inside your skull sits a reward system called the dopaminergic pathway. It's not new, it's ancient, and its entire job is to make you chase things. Not enjoy them, chase them. Neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz spent decades studying this system in the 1990s. What he found changed everything we thought we knew about desire. Dopamine, the chemical at the center of this system, doesn't spike when you get a reward. It spikes in anticipation of a reward. The moment before you find out. The second of uncertainty between pulling the slot machine lever and seeing what comes up. Does that sound familiar? That half second between tapping the notification and seeing what it says? That is not an accident. That is the oldest trick your brain knows, being exploited with surgical precision. For 2 million years, your ancestors needed that system to survive. A rustle in the grass might be food, or a rival, or nothing. But the brain that paused to check, to investigate, to seek, was the brain that ate, was the brain that survived. Curiosity wasn't a personality trait, it was infrastructure. So your brain evolved a system that makes uncertainty feel magnetic. Not uncomfortable, magnetic. The unknown isn't something you avoid, it's something you can't help but move toward. Because the ancestors who didn't feel that pull didn't make it. Fast forward to now, your phone has learned, whether by design or by accident, exactly how to exploit that pull. Every time you pick it up, you don't know what you'll find. Maybe nothing. Maybe something that makes you laugh. Maybe a message from someone you've been thinking about. Maybe news that changes everything. Maybe absolutely nothing at all. That uncertainty is the whole product, not the content. The uncertainty before the content. Psychologist B.F. Skinner discovered this in the 1950s with what he called variable ratio reinforcement. He found that when rewards are unpredictable, the behavior that seeks them becomes almost impossible to stop. A rat pressing a lever that sometimes gives food is less compelled than a rat pressing a lever that gives food randomly. The randomness itself is what drives the compulsion. Your phone gives you something every time you check it. Sometimes it's meaningful, sometimes it's nothing. You never know which one it'll be. And that variability is more addictive than any consistent reward could ever be. The brain doesn't want guaranteed. The brain wants maybe. And here's where it gets stranger. That ancient seeking system wasn't built to have an off switch. It was designed to run until you found what you were looking for. But on a platform that endlessly refreshes, that moment never comes. There is always one more post, one more notification, one more update. The loop was designed to close. Your phone was designed to keep it open forever. Researcher Anna Lemke, who has studied dopamine and addiction extensively, describes modern smartphones as the slot machines we carry in our pockets. Every swipe is a pull of the lever. Every refresh is a spin of the wheel. And the house always wins, because the house is a trillion-dollar industry that has employed thousands of engineers to understand exactly how your 2-million-year-old reward system works. This is also why social media specifically hits so hard, because it layers another ancient need on top of the dopamine loop, the need to know where you stand in the group. Your ancestors didn't just need food, they needed each other. Belonging to the group meant survival. Being excluded meant death. So your brain evolved a system for tracking social information obsessively. Who mentioned you? Who responded to you? Who ignored you? That tracking never switched off just because the group became a feed. Every like you receive is a small signal of belonging. Every post that gets ignored is a small signal of exclusion. And your brain, which evolved to treat exclusion as a threat to survival, cannot help but care about both of them far more than your rational mind thinks is reasonable. So when you reach for your phone without meaning to, you are not being lazy. You are not being weak. You are being human. running software so old it predates language, predates agriculture, predates every invention that makes your modern life possible. What do you do with that? You don't fight the system. You can't. It's not a flaw. It's you. But you can understand it well enough to work with it rather than against it. Researchers studying behavioral change have found that the most effective interventions aren't willpower-based. They're friction-based. The brain defaults to the path of least resistance. If checking your phone requires 2 extra steps, 2 extra seconds, that tiny obstacle is often enough to interrupt the automatic reach. Move the apps. Turn off the notifications. Put the phone in a drawer. Not because you're weak without those barriers, but because your seeking system is fast and your rational mind is slow, and giving the slow one a head start matters. You can also use the system itself. The dopamine response that makes uncertainty magnetic works in both directions. The uncertainty of not checking, of waiting to see what builds up, of deliberately delaying the hit, can become its own pull once you train it. Boredom, which your phone has largely eliminated, is not an enemy. Boredom is the state in which your default mode network activates, connections form, creativity emerges, and the mind finally gets to process what it has accumulated. Your brain needs boredom the way your body needs sleep. The phone replaced it. Getting it back is worth the discomfort of those first few minutes. Because here's the real thing. The friend sitting across from you right now. The meal in front of you. The conversation that's happening in real time. These are not less real than whatever is on the screen. But your 2-million-year-old brain cannot always tell the difference. It was built for a world where information arrived rarely and mattered enormously. It was not built for a world where information arrives constantly and mostly doesn't matter at all. Every time you put the phone face down, you are not missing out. You are returning to the world your brain was actually built for. A world of faces and voices and the particular, unrepeatable moment happening right now. The phone will still be there in an hour. The moment won't be. And there's one more thing worth understanding. The phone doesn't just exploit your seeking system. It exploits your social system, your status system, and your memory system all at once. When you post something and wait for the response, you are not being vain. You are running a program that is hundreds of thousands of years old. One that once tracked whether the group acknowledged you after a hunt, whether your contribution was seen, whether you were valued enough to be kept inside the circle of protection. That tracking was life or death. It shaped your brain as surely as hunger did. And now that same system receives data points every few minutes. Someone liked it, someone didn't, someone responded, someone left it on red. Each one a tiny signal your brain interprets with the same ancient gravity it once reserved for far more consequential information. You know rationally that a like means nothing. Your amygdala did not get that memo. Researcher John Twenge has documented across millions of data points how the rise of smartphones correlates with rising rates of anxiety, loneliness, and depression, especially in young people. Not because phones are evil, but because a social system designed for a group of 150 people is now processing the reactions of thousands of strangers in real time, every single day. The system was never built for that scale. It was never built for that speed. And it has no way to turn down the volume. So the next time your hand moves towards your phone without you deciding to move it, know what's actually happening. 2 million years of evolution, meeting 2 decades of the most sophisticated behavioral engineering in human history. That reflex is not a character flaw. It is the oldest part of you, still trying to do its job in a world it was never built for. The question isn't whether you can stop. The question is whether you can notice. And in the moment of noticing, choose something different. Not always, not perfectly, but sometimes. And sometimes is where it starts. Think about what it actually felt like the last time you were fully present somewhere. Not half present, with one eye on the screen. Fully there. The last time a conversation surprised you because you were actually listening. The last time you noticed something beautiful because your eyes weren't already occupied. The last time you felt genuinely rested after doing nothing, because you actually did nothing instead of filling every gap with a feed. Those moments didn't disappear because life got worse. They got rarer because every pocket of empty time now has something to fill it. And the brain adapted. It stopped expecting stillness. It started craving stimulation the way it once craved food: constant, available, frictionless stimulation. Philosopher Blaise Pascal wrote in the 1600s that all of humanity's problems stem from the inability to sit quietly in a room alone. He had no idea how much harder that would become. But the observation holds. The discomfort of doing nothing, of being unreachable for an hour, of letting the mind wander without redirecting it to a screen, that discomfort is not weakness. It is withdrawal. Mild, manageable, but real. And on the other side of it is a quality of attention that your 2 million-year-old brain was actually built to experience. You already know this phone is in your pocket. You already know it will be there when you put it down. The only question your brain never quite believes is whether anything worth having will disappear in the meantime. Nothing will. And the moment you're in right now, this one, won't come back.